Do you have any other stories,
Yeah.
shorts that you think would be an encouragement
Yeah.
to the congregation?
I've been preaching a lot on forgiveness and relationships the last several months.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of a stage in high school, my senior year of high school, after my mom passed away. My dad and I had a really unhealthy relationship. And was really challenging in that season, just with my mom passing away, and we really didn't sense that my brother and I was a priority in his life in that moment. You know, suddenly he had new freedoms of looking after my mom for so many years with her health and stuff, and really, in a way, my brother and I ended up for about a year and a half on our own. In the house, we had a maid that really looked after us, and later on, we actually moved in with my grandmother, and she played a very significant spiritual role in our lives. And so throughout college, this relationship with my dad just wasn't really good.
Yeah.
And kind of cold, at least on my side of things. And I was stubborn and didn't really want to reach out. And one year in our ministry in Secunda, I was going to preach on forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that week, as I'm working on the sermon, I was just like, God was telling me, say, hey, you can't preach it. Or there was just this conviction in my heart that I can't preach on this. And really, I haven't reached out to my dad for forgiveness and try and restore that relationship.
Yeah.
And I did not have the courage to call him. And so I actually wrote him a letter and just really spilled my guts and some of my anger and things that was in my heart.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot about this letter and, just really wasn't thinking about it. And suddenly one day in that week, or maybe it was the following week, maybe I had several weeks to work on a sermon, I can't remember on the timing. Yeah. My phone rang and I could see on the ID was my dad. And suddenly it just hit me. It's like, oh, that letter.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to answer that phone in that moment.
Yeah.
And I answered, and in that moment I could hear my dad on the other side, but he couldn't even talk. He was just weeping. And so a meaningful conversation. I can't even remember everything that was shared, but the Lord used that letter.
Yeah.
And just prayer, and I think a humbleness from both of us to restore that relationship. And it's been so meaningful then over that period to see how the Lord restored. It wasn't overnight.
Sure.
And then later on when Haley was born, just to see his heart for all of his grandkids. And just an incredible grandpa.
Yeah.
And that was really a blessing. And I'm so grateful that the Lord restored that relationship and that we were able to see that. And again, for me to be able to lead his funeral later on and to be able to, to do that with no regrets.
Yeah.
Was meaningful. And so, I think about relationships. It's hard, right? And if we can stay humble and if we can if we can do everything on our end to try and restore and create that open door
Yeah.
for relationships to heal, then God is able.
Yeah.
Even when we sometimes in our minds think, oh, there's no way
Yeah.
that He can do it. So, word of encouragement.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.